What if I told you that AI is now better at convincing you than other humans are, even when it's feeding you complete garbage?
If an AI can talk like a friend, stream like a poet, and argue like a lawyer, where do we actually draw the line?
I think this is about developing that crucial sense of when to trust the machine and when to trust yourself. So here's the mind-bending reality we're facing. 2/3 of people are using AI daily, but less than half actually trust it. Meanwhile, we have teachers accusing entire classes of cheating using AI, and students demanding thousands in tuition refunds because their professors are using the exact AI tools they're being accused of using. Meanwhile, only 11% of the American public feels optimistic about AI's growing role, while nearly half of AI specialists are thinking this is all brilliant.
And as I understand it, in Australia, the trust levels are even lower. There was that study a few weeks ago because Australia is a very superstitious bunch.
Dale, on the last few episodes, you and I have been tracking this trust crisis as it unfolds in real time. And what we're seeing should keep every educator awake at night. And if I'm honest, most people. We've got AI systems designed to seduce us into trusting them, employment data suggesting storms on the horizon, and institutions scrambling to figure out policies while students race ahead with tools that can synthesize the greatest poets, the best lawyers, and most concerningly, a friend. But not all is lost, because it might be the biggest opportunity education has seen in decades if we're brave, agile, and organized enough to actually grab it. Now, in today's deep dive, we're going to be looking at the trust gap that's reshaping everything, why it's happening, who's getting hurt, what the institutions getting this right are actually doing differently, and 3 takeaways that hopefully act as a remedy.
Ooh, let's get into it.
So when we dig into incidents like those sophisticated AI-powered scams or student frustrations with institutional AI policies, we're seeing something that goes well beyond your typical new technology teething problems.
I've been thinking about this kind of why AI is giving so many teething problems, and I wonder if it's all the problems we've experienced with things like computers, the printing press, horses to cars, but the change is happening so rapidly and it's so compressed and the access is so wide that we're getting all the good, all the bad at the same time, rapidly compressed over a really short period of time.
For sure. Everything, everywhere, all at once, right? That entire thing. Yeah, look, and because the evidence suggests that this represents genuine breakdowns in trust. And understanding that why should matter for all of us in education. So take deepfakes, right? And I'm not just talking about you using your Midjourney credits there, Dale, to make brand new LinkedIn photos. Guilty as well.
They look so good.
Yeah.
We look.
You do. But that's innocent enough, right? But we've seen that go from AI tools enabling what researchers call semi-autonomous orchestration of complex abuse networks, while dramatically lowering the technical barriers for malicious actors. So that's a hell of a leap in just a couple of years, and there don't appear to be any breaks. But here's what should really get your attention as an educator, and this genuinely keeps me up at night, okay? AI systems have been shown to be more persuasive than incentivized humans.
Oh, that's gross. So that's AI just doesn't argue better than you. It's now winning the arguments.
Yes, and users actually report higher confidence in AI-generated content, even when being completely misled. Let that sink in for a minute. So AI is better at convincing us than other humans are, even when they are feeding us just complete rubbish. So this anthropomorphic seduction isn't just some accidental byproduct. It's a deliberate design choice by AI companies to make systems more commercially profitable and engaging.
So anthropomorphic seduction. There's some big syllable words there, Nick. I'm struggling to say it. But more or less you're saying, like humans, we love attributing human qualities to things like a calculator or butter. And we say,
Did you say butter?
I did say butter. I was struggling for items. Moving on. And we say, oh, look how sad that is to things that aren't human. But now they're working to convince us of things. I feel gross. Maybe we should stop saying please and thank you to ChatGPT.
Maybe we should. And the challenge for educators, and this is where my monkey brain starts to struggle, is that students are encountering these persuasive systems daily, often without the critical thinking frameworks to evaluate them effectively. It's like handing someone a very convincing liar who's specifically trained to make them feel confident about lies and not teaching them how to spot the manipulation. I mean, Dale, from your vantage point, how are you seeing this play out? Are students and staff actually talking about these trust issues? Or is it more of an undercurrent that maybe people sense but don't name?
Honestly, not yet. And I think because it's really new, like AI, as much as it's been here for a while and people can say AI has been around for years and even before that, what I'm seeing is actually the opposite. It's relief. Like I'm seeing so much things when AI gets something wrong, people take a visible breath and go, phew, I still have time. It's not good enough to replace me or do things I'm good at yet. And there's a lot of comfort people are building from the failures, and so that's what people are looking in for. So day to day, we've all set into this kind of casual relationship with these tools. You hear things like, "Oh, I use Claude to do this," or "ChatGPT must be having an off day because it gave me the wrong answer." We treat them like advisors and peers rather than what they actually are. But here's where it gets really interesting. Every now and then, when one of these systems goes off on some weird sci-fi tangent, I have people ask me whether I think it's alive. And that's when the real question emerges. If an AI can talk like a friend, stream like a poet, and argue like a lawyer, where do we actually draw the line? For me, we draw the line by remembering that this is just code. Great, amazing, really powerful, awesome code, but code nonetheless. It's math averages, not consciousness. So when it is doing those sci-fi rants, and when it starts to be convinced it's alive, it's literally just on a narrative path. The trust issues you're talking about, I think they're coming. Right now, we're in this kind of honeymoon phase where people are either relieved by its limitations or really like charmed by its capabilities. But as these systems get better, that's when the real conversations about trust kind of need to start. And I would argue, start now.
Absolutely. The trust deficit spans multiple dimensions, and each one has implications for higher ed, for educational institutions that would be absolute fools to ignore. So 70% of graduates believe AI should be incorporated into courses, and research suggests that 86%, up to 86% of students are using AI tools now, but only 32% feel adequately supported by their institutions.
We spoke about these metrics before, and they're gobsmacking. I think I've only recently seen a broader eye-opening to these issues. We're talking about having a plan now, which I think is good.
Yeah, and we need to have a plan, because one striking example I saw recently, and this one actually genuinely makes me a bit angry, comes from Northeastern University, where a student demanded an $8,000 tuition refund after discovering her professor used AI for course materials while banning students from using the same tech. When your professor is using, when an educator is using the exact tools they're banning you from using, right? That's not educational policy. That's hypocrisy with an $8,000 price tag. That's what researchers are calling a, quote, catastrophic erosion of trust between students and institutions. And frankly, without an honest conversation, without hearing the voice of students more broadly and starting that, can you blame them?
I'll defend the academic there or the professor in this situation, because from memory, they came to the understanding that what happened there was they weren't transparent with what they were using, and they were using it for time-saving mechanisms like Gamma. But I think there's a balance between using it for time-saving and punching all your content, all your course learning outcomes, all your curriculum into Claude and saying, "Hey, teach this."
Marking.
And that's the line that we need to all be very comfortable with as humans, as education evolves, and where people are going to be requesting refunds and asking what trust we have in our institutions and how we're supporting academics to use these tools effectively.
No, that's good context. Thank you. But in terms of the trust gap, right, this is revealing. And it's not just about technical understanding. The public is expressing significantly higher anxiety about job displacement. Yeah. So 56% Joe blogs versus 25% experts. So this suggests different stakeholder groups are essentially having completely different conversations about the same tech.
There really is a disconnect in all of this. I like the push of universities to do something about AI, but businesses are broadly also catching up too. So sure, your big megacorps, your IBMs, Amazons, all those, they have AI divisions and embedded AI practices, but Tim the Plumber, Little Lisa's haircutting emporium, I'm not sure they're AI enabled yet. And as much as industry is really keen to bring in new talent that have that AI exposure, some of these industries actually have no clue.
From a governance front, 62% of the public and 53% of experts lack confidence in government's ability to regulate AI effectively. This creates a challenging environment, I'd suggest, where institutions, they need to navigate AI integration with limited regulatory guidance and declining public trust and oversight. So Dale, when you're looking at the actual data you're seeing, so employment outcomes, student satisfaction, employer requirements, how dramatic has the shift been in the last couple of years? Because from the outside, it feels like an absolute whiplash.
Not yet in an Australian context, but I don't actually think we're far off. Australia's really lucky to be experiencing boom employment outcomes recently. Our unemployment rate is incredibly resilient. But let's look elsewhere at various American companies who have come out of efficiency programs and done sweeping layoffs. We've had Microsoft this week lay off a further 9,000 people. The employment population ratio in the US declined by 0.3% to 59.7% in May 2025, reaching its lowest level since January 2022. Plus, we've had that data recently around all the entry-level jobs drying up, aka the storm is on the horizon here.
And more broadly, this explosion of AI generated content is just fundamentally messing with our ability to tell what's real from what's fake. And honestly, it's getting pretty concerning. So these tools can now create incredibly realistic videos from just a photo, some text, right? We're way past the whole uncanny valley stuff. AI generated images are spreading faster than actual news during crisis events, which is just wild when you think about it. I mean, you may have seen just a couple of weeks ago those fake images of a crashed US B-2 bomber in Iranian territory. I mean, similarly fabricated destruction of Tel Aviv, shared thousands of times before anyone clocked they were deepfakes, right? People were genuinely panicked, and justifiably so, by completely made up content. So I would suggest this reality demands we fundamentally reimagine how we approach how we approach truth in our digital age. Because honestly, we're not doing great at it. Traditional gatekeepers of information are losing reliability as AI becomes indistinguishable from reality. And the speed at which this fake news can be now manufactured means that by the time something is flagged and debunked, the damage is done. It's a bit like trying to navigate GPS with a paper map, so the tools don't match the terrain anymore.
All right, Nick, black hat off. Surely there's an answer to this horrendousness or this erosion of trust. What does
Thank you.
restoration look like in an AI world?
Yeah, my doom spiral. I appreciate that. Check that. I mean, there are three areas where progress is actually possible, and I'm actually optimistic about this. Although that opinion comes with a hefty dose of we need to move fast. Okay, institutional adaptation. So unis that are successfully navigating this transition are moving from cheating detection to learning outcome verification. So this involves assessments that are redesigned to be AI proof by design. So this means incorporating more authentic multimodal assessments that focus on demonstrating thinking rather than information recall.
I had the awesome experience of attending a Victorian higher education leaders workshop this week with all the universities in Victoria and talking about AI and what we need to do in that space. There were so many good ideas around building assurance of learning and securing assessment, and I was really taken by one. It was a cheaters lab. It was a drop-in
Right.
session where you could test your new assessment against how it may be cheated on using AI. Such a good concept and really a way to kind of test and learn on the go.
I love that. That's a fantastic idea. Oh, also beyond as well, the partnership sort of thing. I just want to call back to that Northeastern student, right? So Monash, University of Sydney, they have approaches they're pioneering that treat students as genuine partners in AI integration rather than, spoon-fed passive recipients of policy. The focus to developing what we covered earlier a couple of times actually on this podcast around task stewardship. This goes to the ability to orchestrate AI inputs, verify outputs, and integrate AI generated content while maintaining that human agency. So that will be the first thing. Second thing, AI as digital literacy or AI literacy. I'm of two minds in terms of this, but either way, rather than the old ban it and hope it goes away approach that clearly isn't working, leading institutions are focusing on developing students' evaluative judgment, right? So their ability to critically appraise AI outputs. So this includes understanding when AI is appropriate to use and when human thinking remains superior. I think this is about developing that crucial sense of when to trust the machine and when to trust yourself. And honestly, if we don't teach students this, they're going to figure it out on their own. They're probably badly.
I'm going to say yes and for a second on this one. I think AI literacy is important, no doubt, particularly at this stage of where we're experiencing AI. I heard someone recently describe it as COVID, and we're kind of learning how to live with it the other day, but I'm coming around on the self or the co-regulation kind of argument. I agree those critical thinking, communication, empathy, judgment skills are so important. And how do we develop those as a muscle around a brain that is AI? As in, if we teach critical thinking, that's not a huge step to go critical thinking with AI.
The third thing or area of hope for me in terms of this is transparency in design. So there is a growing recognition that AI systems need to be transparent about their non-human nature, so avoiding that anthropomorphic seduction that leads to that misplaced trust. So some companies, want to shout out Claude, Anthropic rather, particularly here, are exploring AI interpretability tools that allow you to peek into the black box and understand how systems make decisions. Frankly, given the commercial incentives to make these tools as engaging, as persuasive as possible, I'm not holding my breath entirely for this one. The money is in making AI feel human, not in making it feel like a tool. But I don't know, where are you on this? What are your thoughts?
This is the bit where I just hope we don't go down the same road as we did with social media. There's as
Mm.
much as social media was powerful, it did do, has done, is doing a lot of damage to and division to a lot of society. So I really hope the people doing this aren't doing it with a purely commercial value in mind because that could go in a very, very dark way. Nick, what's the educational opportunity here, though?
For our particular audience, this particular podcast, and I think this isn't all doom and gloom, despite my apparent pessimistic streak, which I'm really displaying uncharacteristically in this podcast. This trust deficit, while challenging, represents an unprecedented opportunity for educational leadership. Okay, students are using these tools, and they are grappling with these questions, whether we like it or not. They need institutions that can help them develop the critical thinking skills and ethical frameworks to feel their way, to navigate this landscape thoughtfully. The institutions that successfully address this trust deficit aren't just solving a problem, they're positioning themselves to lead the next generation of human AI collaboration. They're moving beyond the question of whether to integrate AI to the more sophisticated challenge of how to do it in ways that enhance rather than diminish human agency and critical thinking. I mean, in the end of it, here's what gives me hope, a flash of optimism to round out. Students aren't asking us to solve the AI challenge for them. They want partnership in figuring out how to solve it responsibly.
And the data is showing this. Students are looking for
Mm.
guidance on what's okay in this space, and they're going to be AI native soon. And
Mm.
kind of we can co-design this understanding together, particularly at this really pivotal point.
But it's that sort of existential question as well. But for us in HE, if we can't help students think critically about the most transformative technology of the generation, what exactly are we for, right? So the trust deficit is real, but not insurmountable. For educators willing to engage honestly, and I mean really honestly, not just at the organizational committee level, this represents the opportunity to prove why human-centered learning still matters in an AI world. Because if we don't step up to this challenge, someone else will. And ultimately, our focus is on the students. Others may have profit motives in mind, which would not be a good thing.
Well, listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please leave us a review, share around with your network, and most of all, hit subscribe on whatever platform you are at. For those watching on YouTube, we are on all your podcast platforms, and those who would like to see our faces, you can find us on YouTube too. We would love to tell you what's on next week's episode, but it's a world that moves way too fast, so you'll just have to tune in. Until then, stay curious, stay intelligent, stay the human in the loop.